Tell us about this issue of brand safety and brand suitability, the expectations of brands in general, and how how those concerns have maybe become amplified during the COVID crisis.
Sure. So I think every time any advertiser now runs a digital programmatically enabled campaign, like they have to have verification technology on every single impression that they buy. And companies like Integral Ad Science have developed amazing tools to be able to enable brands to enjoy the benefits of targeting and scale and great creative execution next to great content, whilst maintaining elements of safety on their, just to ensure their brands are not compromised. The reality is also there's so much choice for brands when it comes to brand safety. Like there is the sort of obviously the generic blocking of not going next to any content which is undesirable for most brands. But even if you're doing a sort of say a programmatic guaranteed buy on 3 publishers, you still should have an element of verification technology on there. Because you might want to block certain types of content, which might not be brand safe for the masses, but might be not safe for you. But also you also want to understand the quality of what you're buying. Things like viewability, ad engagement, and using that to understand the effectiveness of a buy is important. So it's not simply just about safety, why brands need to use this technology. It's also about understanding the quality and impact of what they've bought. And I think, you know, there shouldn't be a brand who should spend $1 programmatically without having a layer of verification technology on it. And they shouldn't just think of it as a safety mechanism. They should think of it as a safety mechanism and an insight and optimization mechanism.
Can you just explain, not to get too deep into the ops, but how you work with a brand safety platform like IAS? Like, how does that work? How do you guys fit together in the ecosystem?
Yeah, so we are massively cautious for our brands. So we like to get sort of technical, like we will leverage Integral Ad Science's view on the market in what we call a pre-bid basis. So if there's some quality metrics that we want to adhere to, so it might be some, you know, broad brand safety, you know, or against all the standard categories of what class as inappropriate content. Of course, they will, anybody that Integral Ad Science scans has got any risk on those areas, you know, we wouldn't even bid on that. But then there might be some more of the quality and insight metrics, like we want to advertise on pages which have an average of 70% viewability of the ad, or we want to advertise where there's not 2 of the same advertisers appearing on 2 same spots. Like all of these types of quality metrics, we might set them at that criteria before we send a bid out to buy an impression. But then equally, we also recognize that of any verification technology, any pre-bid mechanism are based on analysis, historical statistics, and can't be 100% accurate all of the time. So we would then use Integral's technology after we bid, so just before the ad is displayed, to do another scan just to make sure it fits in that criteria. So we offer the absolute safety we can to our clients. But then once we've bought something, we will use their analysis through the log files that they send us, join it with other data we have to understand, okay, what's the relationship between seconds on a page or engagement with the ad or viewability to how people respond to the advert, but more importantly, deliver the business outcome that advertiser was willing to do. And then that might impact the criteria we set up front for the next time we buy ads for that client.
I wanted to talk about news and buying on news sites, and that's been a big topic. Of course, there's been tremendous increase in consumption, but there's been a drop-off for many news sites, some because of just buyers are pulling back because they're just pulling back, and others because they're pulling back because they don't want to be associated. I wanted to ask you how you think news publishers can work effectively with the buy side, you know, how we might sort of see this thing resolved perhaps in a productive way, and some thoughts that you might have.
Personally, for me, I think the responsibility there is on the buy side. in the fact that a job of a news publisher is to create content that engages the user. And ultimately the user then spends time on that website, and that becomes a value that the ad buyer gets. Like they get volume of users who are engaged, and hopefully with a reputable content brand, like whether it's a flagship newspaper title, etc. But then the buyer must, with their service provider, the agency or the managed service programmatic player that's helping them on that campaign, must be involved in setting the criteria of what they deem appropriate for their brand. The technology exists, like they can add all the parameters and be as custom as they like. It's just that needs to be added from the buy side before you even go live with the campaign. And then that ultimately adds the protection for the actual advertiser. The publishers, for me, should keep producing content that engages the user. And then the technology exists to make sure the protection for the brand is there. The brand and their service providers need to put the work in to understand, okay, what criteria do we need to set that gives us the safety there, but the tech's there to do that. And ultimately, it's down to the buy side for me.